It's 3 o'clock on the dot. Ding. Now it's 3:01. Okay. Hi there. Oh my gosh. Hi there, YouTube. Okay, so I guess I say this at the start of a lot of my videos, which I feel kind of bad about, but I probably shouldn't be trying to do a video today. But you know, I feel like the weather is okay for a video today. It's not sunny at all today. It's actually a pretty cloudy sky, so it's not that hot right now. It's still pretty humid, and I still am starting this right now with my car on to have the air conditioner on as well, but the past few days it's just been kind of like too hot for me to try to do a video. I felt like, so I think the last video I did was last Wednesday, and today is Tuesday, so Tinka Tuesday. I also wanted to try to do a video because of it being, you know, Tuesday, and every Tuesday is Tinka Tuesday for me. So yeah, I really wanted to do a video today for Tinka Tuesday, and because, you know, I feel like the weather is like on the better side for today compared to how it's been lately. But you might notice that I'm kind of talking a little funny right now. I have a really bad canker sore oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. So it's in a really bad spot. It's right underneath my tongue. It's on this side, which is why I'm pointing here, but it's underneath my tongue, and it's towards the back. So with me talking, it's really triggering it. It's rubbing on like the back of my teeth, especially when I try to say certain syllables. I kind of want to try to show you guys. I don't know if you'll be able to see. That looks really gross. So tongues are really scary. Tongues freak me out. I wanted to think that I would be able to do this okay today despite this, but it honestly really hurts right now. I don't notice it as much unless I'm like eating or talking. So I worked at the club last night, and that was really difficult because I was trying to talk to people, and I was trying to talk, you know, how I normally would, but I was like kind of, oh my gosh, I was kind of lisping. Um, and you know, I do 10-hour shifts, so there's a lot of, it was difficult. It was a lot of talking. Um, I used to get canker sores a lot when I was a kid. And up until now, I hadn't had one for quite a while. I really don't get them that much as an adult. It was more so something that I got, yeah, like being a kid. And when I was a kid growing up, the diet that I was fed by my parents was oftentimes not very healthy. My younger brother and I, we never went hungry. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. We never went hungry. So that was nice, obviously. But, you know, we were fed a lot of junk food. And when I say a lot of junk food, I mean a lot, like a lot, a lot. We were fed a lot of junk food. Which was weird because my mom was kind of a health nut. So it doesn't really add up or make sense to me in that way, but I don't know. I want to think maybe she just wanted us to enjoy being kids that way, you know, because you're only young once, I guess. I don't know. But I can specifically remember, though, like for family trips, when I was in the back seat of their car, my younger brother and I, we had these bags of pixie sticks. So for anyone that isn't familiar with pixie sticks, they're basically like paper straw tubes full of sugar and artificial colorings, like artificial dyes and flavors. And I can remember we would be given like bags of those, and we would be sitting in the back of the car just like pouring one after the other like down our throat. So I'm pretty sure it would have been, it actually probably would have been slightly less unhealthy to literally just be pouring tubes of straight pure sugar down our throats, because with the pixie sticks, it's like sugar with artificial dyes and artificial flavors and like these weird additives. So it's still basically almost pure sugar, but with like other bad ingredients. Not that sugar is bad, but a lot of people in the media, a lot of times the media seems to make it out to be, but I don't personally think that sugar is bad. I'm actually kind of addicted to it, but I don't know, not that bad. I don't know, but I just feel like, yeah, with the pixie sticks, that's almost pure sugar that we were just pouring down our throats. Like one, again, an entire bag of pixie sticks, like one after the other. But yeah, I kind of feel like the pixie sticks were even, that would have been even less healthy because it's like additional weird ingredients added like to the sugar. So anyways, like stuff like that, you know, we had a lot of fast food, just a lot of junk food. We were given tubes of candy at Christmas and stuff, like those kind of plastic candy cane shaped tubes of chocolates. Like I remember it would be like a tube, a plastic tube about the width of, I've shown this before, about the width of this, basically, and the length of my forearm, shaped like a candy cane, and like a hollow plastic tube, like really big like that, filled with like I'm trying to figure out what syllable it is that I say that really pushes on my back molar the most, my canker sore. I think it's a certain consonant. Hershey Kisses. the plastic tubes used to be filled, that we got, used to be filled with Hershey Kisses and like M&Ms. So like, you know, chocolate a lot of the time. So a lot of like saturated fat and sugar. And we could just eat those entire tubes like at our, however we wanted. Like we could eat the entire tube in one sitting if we wanted to. My younger brother never really had that big of an appetite. But ever since I can remember, I've had a huge appetite, like a really, really big appetite. So I didn't know any better as a kid, and nobody told me any better or really taught me any better with that. So I would just like do that. I would pretty much eat the entire tube of chocolate in one sitting, like just not knowing any better. And surprisingly, I was never that chubby of a kid. I was actually pretty slim as a child up until puberty. And once I hit puberty is when I did start to really struggle with my weight, and all of that junk food and lack of activity kind of just caught up with me. And ever since then, it's been a roller coaster ride of me really struggling with my weight and and trying to eat healthy, but that's just not my natural inclination to eat that healthy, because again, I was raised on complete crap. Like we were given bags of potato chips, and there's actually a picture of me, I think, in his photo album where I'm seen outside with like a full family-sized bag of potato chips, and I'm just walking around outside with them, like eating the entire bag to myself. Like not just like a regular little like single serve bag of chips, but like a full family size, large size bag. And I was allowed to just like eat as much of that as I wanted at a time, like not even for like a meal time or a snack, just randomly whenever I felt like it. So it was nice in like the ignorance is bliss kind of sense of things, where again at that young age I really didn't know any better, like as far as like health wise with that kind of stuff. But it led to some kind of like bad unhealthy habits that have unfortunately continued on like into the rest of my entire life thus far, like into my adulthood. And it's just been something that I've always struggled with ever since, that I do think is largely tied into a lot of that with my upbringing. But anyways, so I'm pretty sure the reason that I would want to think the reason I used to get canker sores a lot as a child would probably have been related to my kind of like unhealthy diet with that kind of stuff. Whereas now that I'm an adult, I mean, yeah, I still struggle with trying to eat healthy, but I guess in large part, I really don't have that much of a choice as far as me being a stripper, which has like ups and downs, you know, like, I can still get away with eating like some kind of like junk food now and then, but for the most part, I really have to try like as best I can to mostly try to eat pretty healthy, just to be able to do what I like to do as a dancer, and like, you know, being so stage oriented and trying to do pole tricks as much and as often as I can and stuff. So yeah, I really hadn't had a canker sore for quite a while until now. I can't even remember the last time that I had one. So this one that I have now, I'm wondering where it came from. It's actually kind of ironic to me, because I'm pretty sure the last video that I did last Wednesday, I think I actually had gotten vitamins that day. I'm pretty sure I said in that video that I had just been at a couple of grocery stores and I had purchased some vitamins. I got a multivitamin, and which I have had quite a few of those since then, in the following week from then till now. And I also got magnesium glycinate, which I've also had multiple doses of from then till now in the following week. And I got an iron supplement. That one I haven't tried, or I haven't even opened that bottle yet. But my period is approaching, so I probably should get on that and have the iron as well pretty soon. But it's kind of ironic to me because also up until recently, until I got those vitamins last week, I hadn't had vitamins for a very long time. You know, because they're just very expensive, and I kind of just feel like everything is fake or a lie or a gimmick or a hoax or a scam or all of the above, basically, like, etc. So I've always just kind of assumed, like, not assumed, but I've really just thought that things like that, pretty much everything is just a waste of money. Yeah, like a scam. Like, I don't even really believe in vitamins or anything else for that matter. But, you know, it had been, yeah, quite a while since I had bothered to spend the money or try that kind of thing. So I was like, all right, let's just try to treat myself, you know, like get some vitamins and that kind of thing. So I did. But other than the canker sore, I don't think I really noticed anything. If anything, I feel worse. Um, I was hoping, I actually even said last Wednesday, I'm pretty sure it was, that I was like hoping that the following week, like maybe Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, I wasn't going to be working at the club any of those days or nights. So I was like, oh, hopefully the magnesium will help me to sleep at night so that I could maybe get up during the day and still go out and do a video for at least one of those days. Because, you know, for anyone that doesn't already know from me talking about it in other videos, I really struggle to sleep at night. It's actually pretty much impossible for me. I For the longest time, my body, my mind, just, it won't let me sleep at night. I cannot sleep at night for the life of me. Um, so I was really hoping that the magnesium might help with that, but so far it has not. And if anything, I think I even feel like more tired during the day. Like, it's not helping me sleep at night, but then again, I guess it could also be my period approaching that's factoring into that. But I really can't say that I've noticed any positive benefits from the vitamins or the magnesium so far, which really sucks, you know, because they are so expensive, and it's kind of just like proving my point from before, like all that time that I was just thinking like, oh, that kind of stuff is just a scam, just a hoax. Like, so far, that actually really does seem to be the case, which I guess it's kind of like almost a positive thing in the sense of me not bothering in the future as well. Like I was, you know, like going so long without bothering with that stuff before, but I would rather they did work. You know what I mean? Like, I broke down, I spent the money, and to not get any kind of positive result from that is a bummer. And, you know, just wasted money, wasted time and effort kind of too. But, and I'm wondering, like, is that where my canker sore is coming from? It might, maybe that's just a coincidence, I'd like to think, but I don't know, it's weird. It's very kind of weird timing. Seems maybe a little ironic, I guess you could say. But so yeah, yeah, today is Tuesday. I did work at the club last night almost until close. So normally I work all the way till close for the full 10 hours. Last night I actually left at 1:30 last night. However, I got to the club and signed in at 3:30. So from 3:30 to 1:30, I still got 10 hours. I left a little bit early just because it was just that bad, and it was definitely one of the more depressing kind of shifts. And I'm also feeling pretty bummed because I didn't work on Sunday, and I specifically didn't work on Sunday because the Sunday prior to that, there was a DJ working that I used to work with years ago, and we really had like a bad working relationship. So now that he's recently come back to the club, I actively try to avoid doing shifts that he's going to be working as best I can. And because he worked the Sunday before last, the week before this, I really had no way of knowing if he was going to be on this Sunday as well, but I couldn't help but to just assume that he would be. And I even go out of my way to try to check the schedule for this kind of thing, but checking the schedule really doesn't even matter that much because a lot of the times it won't be accurate and they'll change it without updating it on the app or the paper. So there have been a lot of times lately where he hasn't been on the schedule and he's still shown up for a shift that I've been doing and had already been planning to do. So like before he came back, he just came back pretty recently, and before that I was so happy and so proud of myself because I was pretty much getting like a full 40-hour work week, and that was going on for a while. I was managing to do that almost all throughout last winter, and then, you know, this past spring going until now. And then more recently, I was even doing 50 hours because I was adding on Thursday nights to the rest of my week. I was pretty much just not doing Friday and Saturday night, like the busier nights where we would pretty much always have a human DJ no matter what. Whereas a lot of the other nights, it's like AI or just like one of the floor hosts. So yeah, I mean, I was getting 40 to 50 hour work weeks. And now that he's back, it's kind of like there's a whole lot of shifts left for me to work. Like, I'm not able to do Thursday. I don't want to do Thursdays anymore. He's doing Wednesdays, so I don't know if I'm going to even be able to come in tomorrow. I'm really bummed that I didn't work this Sunday because turns out the person that actually was in the DJ booth for Sunday, this Sunday, was my favorite floor host, and he is actually really, really, really good in the DJ booth with the lights and the music. And the recent shifts that I've done with him being in there have been some of my favorite recently. So I missed out on what could have been probably a great shift for me this Sunday, you know, just not knowing. I have no way of knowing how anything's gonna go. And it's like, it's just such a bummer, really, you know. But it's like me saying this, so now it's like I would want to assume that this coming Sunday would be similar, like, oh, maybe he won't be here this coming Sunday. But just to keep messing with me and throwing me off and making it that much more difficult, and especially because I'm addressing this and saying this out loud in this video, I can almost guarantee that he will probably be here this coming Sunday. Because again, it's so unbelievably inconsistent. And I just feel like that's very, very, unfortunately, very, very likely. You know, I have no way of knowing. No way, no way. And, you know, as dancers, the club that I dance at here, the dancers pay to work here. And luckily for me, I'm not very far from the club, but it's still such a huge thing for me to make the effort to come in here. The way that my situation is, for me to even get out the front door of the apartment that I stay at, it's a huge, 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 lengthy, involved, difficult, draining production. You know, and I don't even really like wear that much makeup or like put that much into, like, you know, I wear wigs, so it's not like I have to do my hair, really. But just for me, like stuff that I feel the need to do at the apartment that I stay at, it takes me a long time. It's a very lengthy process. So it is still a huge effort for me to come in here. And almost every shift that I do is costing me money to come in and pay to work here and stuff. So it's not just like a willy-nilly kind of thing where, you know, like for me to commit to doing a shift, each and every shift that I commit to doing is a really big deal for me. It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of commitment, it's a lot of dedication. I'm literally dedicating my entire life to this. You know, like I haven't been to the beach one time this summer. I haven't done anything. I don't do anything, you know, any of the seasons, summer, spring, fall, winter, none of the time, none of the year. I literally just do this. This is all that I do. So for this to be all that I do, and it's like all throughout these years, so many different times and situations and circumstances, I haven't even really felt the ability to actually really work here the way as much or as often as I really want to. Wasn't willing to put in the time, if I wasn't willing to make the commitment and put in the dedication to wanting to be able to treat this like a regular job. The thing is, I am willing to put in the time and the effort and the dedication. And I have done that. And I've been doing that for so many years. And it's like, so often there's still all of these factors and circumstances that come into play where I just don't actually feel able to do that. Because if I really felt able to, like if I wasn't so actively trying to avoid this guy, and you know, he likes to use this smoke stuff that I'm so allergic to, it makes me so sick. So if I didn't have these things that I'm trying to avoid, I would want to work here at the club pretty much every single day, every single night, just about. But it's like, again, now it's gone back to this situation where the only shifts that I really feel confident doing are the ones that I really think that he might not be doing. So basically right now, that's Sunday and Monday. So just a few weeks ago, that it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I had 5 nights in a row where he wasn't here. And again, that's in just the span of a couple weeks, it's gone from those 5 nights in a row down to 2, down to Monday and Tuesday. So it is a bummer. And again, I've sacrificed everything. I've put everything into this. And I barely even get paid for it. Not only do I not get paid to be here, it's the opposite. I pay to be here. And on top of that, we're kind of like unspokenly expected to tip everyone around us that works here, like the employees, but it's not actually a requirement. And years ago, I used to do that so over the top, I used to give the employees everything that I made to where I was leaving with nothing myself. But none of those employees that I was doing that for, none of them still work here now, because that was years ago. The only one that still works here now is that DJ that I was just referring to. But again, I can't afford to do that now because I'm not making anything now. So it just sucks. Like, it sucks all around. It's such a crappy feeling. You know, to know that I was giving those employees before everything that I was making. And now, with the new employees that are here nowadays, none of them know about that. At least I don't think they do. Or all they can see is me not tipping very good anymore because I just can't afford to do it. If it's not coming in, it can't go out. You know? So it's just such a terrible feeling. And yeah, part of the reason I left early last night, it's like, it's just such a terrible feeling. Like, I'm the only dancer on shift, the only one, but it felt like I was the only one not getting tipped. And I'm so used to that. I'm so used to that feeling and that vibe. And then the lights that were on, the color of lights, they were back to being the cellulite lights, which there's so many different types of lights here. And I've seen myself look like that in those lights before, but it's been a little while. And for more recently, when I've seen myself in the mirrors here on stage, at the club and on stage, it hasn't been great, but it hasn't been as bad as what I had seen before, like a couple weeks ago, or like many weeks ago, or like even a couple months ago. And I wanted to think like, oh, like, you know, I'm pretty much always to some extent trying to diet. I used to take it a lot further, like back in the day, whereas nowadays I kind of just have lost my ability, I feel like, to even really actually do it. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I can kind of like dip my toes into the waters of dieting still a little bit here and there. But I can't make it past very many levels to like actually have results and effects. As far as like feeling satisfied with getting into better shape and with the way that my body looks and feels, it really does suck because I can pretty much, my body like refuses, I feel like, to even let me take it any further to actually get the results that I want to get. But even just me trying to go back to dieting and trying to get back into it, my body will, it seems like something in me will only let me get far enough to where, again, I don't get the results, but I don't get any kind of positive results as far as looking or feeling any better. But the results that I do get are pretty much just negative. It's just enough to where I can feel the detrimental effects of trying to diet, like low energy and not being able to sleep very well and irritability and just health concerns, health conditions, negative health effects, bruising more easily, feeling colder, which feeling colder now during the summer is actually kind of nice sometimes, but it's only going to be summer here for 1 more month, and then it's back to unbearable freezing temperatures for the following 7 months. For me, during the winter, I can't afford to put the heat on. So this coming winter is going to be my 5th winter without having any heat on in the apartment that I stay at. So there's a lot of many factors coming into play where it's just brutal and it just feels impossible for me to really try to look good, feel good. But yeah, last night the lights were back to being some of the worst that I've ever seen. And again, I've seen myself look that bad before, but until last night, it had been a little while. And when I saw it again last night, it's such a punch in the gut and a slap in the face. It's like my entire world, which already is so difficult and impossible feeling to begin with, but it's like I feel like everything comes crashing down, and it's like everything that I do, all the hard work, all the dedication, all of the trying to eat healthy and trying to exercise and trying to diet and trying to do the pole tricks and trying to go on the pole over and over and over again for hours and hours and hours. I've been on stage for 5 hours straight before, multiple times, and I just did that again recently, but it's like I want to think that it's all for, like, it's all worth it. It's all for something. Like, that's what it takes for me to try to cut it as best I can as a stripper at my age. And then when I see myself look like that in those lights, it's like it's all for nothing. It's just such a joke. I am such a worthless, pathetic joke, and my entire existence is I regret for being born. It's like literally like the worst, one of the worst feelings in the world, like that I can imagine. Like I just couldn't put into words how bad I actually feel about myself. And then it's like I just get so much more upset with myself for putting myself in this situation. I don't feel like I actively, consciously put myself in this situation, but it kind of like inadvertently kind of happened throughout the years to where now I feel stuck. And I have felt stuck for very long, like a very long time like this. But of course, I'm going to come back to blaming myself. And of course, like it's still mostly my fault. Even though I didn't do it on purpose, of course it's still my fault for being so worthless and stupid, and for being stupid enough to get myself into this situation or allow this to happen. But I just can't believe how ashamed and how upset I am with myself for allowing myself to be in this situation where I am put in a position to feel this bad about myself. Like, I know I might not be the best person, but I can't possibly be that bad of a person to deserve to feel that bad. Like, I would never want anyone to feel that way. Like, it's, I can't verbalize it. You know what I mean? It's, my soul is so unbelievably beyond destroyed from this. And from so many other things too, but the combination, especially, it's like. But I will say, I did wear my 8-inch heels for the entire shift yesterday, which up until recently, I hadn't really been able to wear my 8-inch heels that much like I like to. For a while, I was wearing mostly my 7-inch heels. But 8-inch heels is what I actually prefer when I'm feeling up to it, or feeling like slightly more up to it, or trying a little harder to convince myself, because in actuality I really never actually feel able to wear the 8-inch heels these days, which is why I mostly don't. But you know, more recently, every now and then I'll try to push myself to do it for some length of time, even if it's for just a few hours of a particular shift. But what I really get especially proud of myself is when I'm occasionally lately able to do it for an entire shift at a time, which I was able to do last night. Also, the 8-inch heels that I'm wearing for this, that I'm referring to, are so old, and the bottom of the left one is very uneven, like it's bubbling out in the middle. It's unfixable because there's no way that I can access that area, because the perimeter, like the edge of the sole of the shoe, is all sealed down. Usually when that kind of thing happens to my shoes, it's usually the edge or the perimeter, to where I can kind of slide a little thing of glue underneath, like super glue, to glue it down a little more. Whereas with this particular shoe, and for this time, I can't get underneath to access where that bubbling, bumpy area is, because again, it's all sealed off by the perimeter of the rest of the edge and the sole of the shoe. So I kind of just have to deal with it, like so many things. Very wobbly, very uneven. So I mean, I can barely walk in these things. So for me to get through an entire shift wearing them and dancing in them is a challenge. A very dangerous challenge. I also almost fell off the pole last night, but I did not actually fall off of it, but I came very, very, very close. Another reason I just wasn't feeling it at all whatsoever last night is because the pole was extremely slippery. It almost always is, but again, there's a spectrum of like just how bad it is on any given shift at any given time. So last night it was more towards like a 9 or a 10 for pretty much like on a scale of 1 to 10 for how slippery it gets. It was just about as slippery as it could possibly get. And I truly, at this point, I really do truly believe that somebody is putting lotion into the rubbing alcohol that the dancers use to clean off the pole. Or like they're probably putting oil. I really, really, truly think that somebody is putting oil into the rubbing alcohol, because that's the only thing that could make any sense with that. Like there's no other way for that pole to get that slippery. Like no way. Like there's And as far as I can recall, I'm pretty sure I was the only dancer on shift last night that was trying to do pole tricks. Maybe some of the other dancers were, but not that I was noticing or really seeing. And even myself, I only managed to do pole tricks a few times, maybe 2 or 3 times. And after the time where I came that close to falling off the pole, I didn't bother to go back upside down on that thing and do pole tricks anymore for the remainder of that night or that shift, because I came very, very close to falling off the pole when that happened. Like, and I was upside down. There's just no grip. You know, it's like, it's hard enough to try to do pole tricks, but to then go and try to do them on a pole that's been lotioned down with like oil or whatever it is they're putting on there, good luck. It's a trip. But, you know, again, it's like the reason I didn't work last Thursday or this past Sunday, was to try to avoid that DJ guy that's back. Whereas normally, more recently, I was doing both of those shifts. So rather than doing 5 10-hour shifts in a row, I was just going back into my shift yesterday after taking 4 days and nights off in a row. So, you know, my body just snaps back out of being able to really stay conditioned to doing what I try to do. The more days off in a row that I have, which is why I prefer to I would rather not really have days off, to be honest. Like, if I wasn't trying to avoid this DJ guy, and if I wasn't trying to avoid the smoke stuff that I'm allergic to that he likes to use, yeah, I would rather take 1 day off. But I just feel almost kind of forced to now. I'm like feeling like I need to, well, this past week I felt the need to take 4 days off in a row, which I don't want to do that. But the whole reason I'm doing this job in the first place is to try to be healthy, which, you know, really, yeah, it doesn't add up or make sense. That's just not what strip clubs are for, unfortunately. You know, they exist so that strippers can make money for other people, as far as I can tell. Or me personally, that's, you know, it's not even to try to make money for myself. It's because society wants me to make money for others. Which for a little while, I was kind of trying to play along and do that, but it just wasn't worth it. Because I'm risking my life every time that I do try to do, you know, fending off sexual assault and panic attacks on top of it. Panic attacks. And yeah, I have been sexually assaulted multiple times as a stripper. But then again, it's like, well, I am, to outsiders, to society, most people would probably just look at it as like, well, I am putting myself in this situation, but how and why that actually ended up happening the way that it has is still largely a mystery to me. And maybe always will be, I guess. but a lot of it definitely does seem by design. A very sadistic design. um, there was a customer at the club last night that I'm pretty sure was an undercover cop. He was asking me, and apparently he was asking other dancers too, if we knew where to get an illegal substance. And right away I was like, no. I was like, that's not my thing. And he was like, yeah, well, maybe somebody else here knows where to get it. And I just pretty much said no, like, I don't know. But you know, I'm the kind of person where it was so tempting to like mess with him. And I really like to joke around and kind of like be a wise ass. And, you know, it's not to like upset anyone else, obviously. Like, it's more so because I am typically very depressed and sad. So it's kind of like, it's pretty much just coming from a place of trying to cheer myself up and trying to just laugh and make light of things. So I didn't do this last night, but all of these different thoughts and things were coming to mind after the fact. Like, I would have so badly wanted to just be like, oh, well, you know, there's actually a stash spot of that underneath the stage. Because there is a crawl space underneath the stage. A lot of the people that decide things here at the club that I dance at are, I don't know how to put it nicely, but let's just say there was a crawl space under the stage, and I think it existed specifically for them to go under there to possibly tighten the pole if need be, because a lot of times the pole will get loose, if that makes any sense, just from being used so much. But when the club recarpeted, you know, a few years ago, I think it was actually during COVID, but when they recarpeted the building, I think they recarpeted over that crawl space area to where now you really can't get in there unless you were to like saw through the carpet, basically. Anyways, or like I could have said something like, actually there's a few couches up in VIP where they're stuffed full of that. It's like a secret, thing that we have here at the club. I was like, but you have to go to VIP if you want to go be able to investigate and look up there. He also did specifically tell me that he wasn't a cop after he asked me if I knew where to get this illegal substance. He like took a pause briefly and then he was like, don't worry, I'm not a cop. But you know what? He looked like he was. So, you know, I didn't want to take any risks too much there. But I could have said so many fun things like, oh, I might not know where to get that particular substance, but I do know where to get, and then I could have like made up this like totally new unheard of drug, and I could have tried to make it sound like it's like the whole, like the new big thing, like the new big craze that like all the strippers are going crazy for. And I could try to make him feel like out of the loop, like, oh, like you've never heard of it before? Like just make up like a totally fake thing, like this weird funny name for it, and like, yeah, like it's all the rage, like all the cool kids, all the strippers are doing it nowadays. Like how have you never heard of this? Like you could be a cop, like, or you should know, if you're looking for this other thing, like you should know what this new thing is, like this is what you really want. Like it could have been like, I don't know, I could have said so many things. Or, you know what I could have also said, and this more recently came to me today? I was like, I could have said, oh, just ask that DJ guy. Thank God the DJ wasn't on shift, but like, say this had been like a Wednesday when that DJ does work when I'm working, or like if I decide to go in for a Wednesday, like I did last week and the week before when that DJ was here, I could have just been like, oh yeah, just go ask the DJ. Like, I could have been like, the DJ sells it to all the dancers. He's got like an endless supply of that. You know what though? I would never do that, you guys. Like, just to like clarify, I'm totally joking around, but I wish I could actually like really joke around like this out loud, like in real life, rather than just in my head. But so there, besides this DJ guy that I'm referring to that just came back, there was another DJ that used to work here as well around that same time period, like years ago. Years ago, there were many years there where I was working with both of them very often, and both of them were very, very rude, very, very mean, very, very disrespectful to me. And there was a terrible situation going on there between myself and them. But so not this DJ that I'm referring to, but the other one was actually known to to like that stuff that the cop was asking about. Or I don't know if that guy was a cop, but I can't help but to, if he wasn't a cop, he was doing a damn good job of making it seem like he was. And if he was an undercover cop, he was very, very bad at being discreet. And he was basically making it very apparent and very obvious that, like, all the dancers, like, there were many dancers that I was hearing talk about this, like, behind the scenes, like, out back, like, in the kitchen or, like, the dressing rooms. Like, pretty much all the dancers I could tell, or that I could like, seem to, on shift that night yesterday, seemed to think that this guy was a cop. But, so yeah, the other DJ was known, not the one that's back now, but the other one was known to actually partake in that substance. I don't know if he still does nowadays, because this was years ago, but that was like, and he actually like had said that in front of me. Like, it wasn't just like something I heard through the grapevine. Like, I had actually heard him say that and reference it, like, myself. I had heard him say that, like, in person, like, directly from him. So there was a time where I was talking to a guy here maybe like a few months ago, and that other DJ was here as a customer that night, and the guy that I was talking to was asking me about that same substance. And it did actually, but the guy that was asking about that substance that night was offering me a lot of money as a tip if I could help him find that stuff. So it did cross my mind, and it was kind of tempting for me there for a moment to possibly, because again, that DJ guy that was known to dabble in that was there that night. So I kind of was almost tempted to be like, oh, well, actually, yeah, I think that guy over there in that corner might be able to help you out. But I didn't. That could have gone very many bad directions. But that particular time, the guy that was asking me about it that time did not seem like an undercover cop. And he seemed like the farthest thing from it, to where if that other guy those many months ago had been an undercover cop, it would have been the opposite kind of thing, where he was the best undercover ever, because that just seemed very, very, very unlikely. He did not give off that vibe. He just did not look or seem like that whatsoever. But even with that being the case, I still didn't want to take that chance or like take that risk, or, you know, that other DJ guy, or both of them, are the type of people that would get like very, very upset with me very, very easily, and kind of like guy drama, like almost like if guys like got their periods too, to where they both seemed like they were like PMSing a lot, almost like guy PMS, if that would be a thing, to where I just would never want to like mess with them, or I would just actively try to avoid both of them now, like as best I can. Like, I just literally want to avoid them as best I can. I don't want to see them, talk to them, hear from them, work from them, even be in the same room as them. Like, to me, that chapter in my life has closed and been closed for a long time. I want nothing to do with them ever again. And it's not like animosity or hard feelings really, but it's more so hard feelings just like for me myself. It's not even so much that much towards them. It's just more like towards myself for allowing myself to even deal with them in the first place, or deal with that kind of bad situation that was going on there for so long. But it really does suck, because it's like, I wanted to start my YouTube for so many years before I did, and that was such a big topic for me to like dare to finally talk about that, because that situation that I was in with them for all those years, yeah, it was going on for many, 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 many years. And throughout so much of that time, it was such a big thing for me. Like, I wanted so badly to tell somebody, or to talk about it. Not not even just like out loud publicly, like for anybody to hear now, like on the internet, but back then it was even such a huge thing for me to like dare to think about telling even just one person, because for so long nobody really knew, or as far as I could tell, nobody seemed to know what was going on and how bad of a situation I was really in with them. It was like the only people that knew about it were me and those two guys, and I don't think anybody else knew. And that went on like that for so many years, and it's like I just felt for so long like so lost and alone and so stuck, because it's like I had nobody to tell, nobody to talk to, nobody to turn to. And I remember there was one day, after this was going on from years and years and years and years and years, finally at one point I did tell one of the female managers, like casually, like briefly, like not extensively, but I kind of casually mentioned it, kind of thing. But that didn't go very well. She didn't really do anything to help, and not only that, but she herself, like even just more recently, like this past winter, she knew that that situation was largely involved with me being allergic to the smoke that they were using, and how they were abusing that to like have me give them all the money that I had made, which again wasn't even much in the first place to begin with. But even more recently, this past winter, she was using the smoke stuff herself for shifts that I was doing where she was here and when she was in the DJ booth. So she really wasn't that helpful or helpful at all in that situation. But at least I eventually dared to tell her. So after I told her, there were still many years that went on where I hadn't told anybody else before I started my YouTube. Like, again, so now me doing my YouTube and like telling possibly the entire world, or anybody that would come across my video or watch my videos someday or somehow, like, it's such a huge thing for me, and I wanted so badly to use that as a way to try to move past that, and to try to like heal and get over how bad that situation was and how long it was going on for. I wanted to think that I was finally able to try to move on and move past. But I even said in so many prior videos, I was like, I don't think I'll ever actually really be able to do that, because it was just that traumatic. But now that one of these guys is back, it's like, well, of course, I'm never actually going to be able to move on from this, because now it's still going on again. But I have to go sign in real quick. Okay, sorry. I have to sign into the club by a certain time, because if I sign in any later, I'm charged more money, basically. So, being a stripper is so much fun. Anyway, so yeah, me doing my YouTube, it's like now, you know, not being able to even to talk about that situation or even mention it at all or tell anybody for so long, for all of those years where it had first been going on. That was such a big thing for me, and then this guy that's back now, he hadn't, until recently, he hadn't been here at the club for a couple of years. So, and then I started my YouTube almost a year ago last August. So it's been almost a full year now that I've been doing my YouTube videos, but I have mentioned this in a lot of my previous videos that I've done on my channel so far. And for me to talk about it so much and so openly now, it is really a trip for me. It's really a big thing. And I really was trying to tell myself, trying to convince myself that it would help me to finally move on and finally get over this. And again, now this guy is back and it's like, there's just no way. I'm just so curious as to whether or not this situation is ever actually going to get better for me or ever actually go away. The way that it feels now, it's like, as long as I continue to work here at this club, this situation is still going to be an issue and it's still going to be going on. Me working here was pretty much saving my life. I mean, risking my life every time that I come in here, but also, weirdly enough, kind of saving me in a lot of ways too. And this is the only job that I've ever been able to hold down, ever. To the point where, yeah, it's like I wanted this to be a full-time job. I wanted, and I was so proud of myself for being able to do the 40 and the 50-hour work weeks. And now it's like, rather than this being a full-time job for me, like I was working so hard for it to try to be, now he gets to have a full-time job here instead. And after everything I've done here, after everything that I've put in, after all of the hard work and all of the sacrifices and all of the dedication, literally based on sacrificing my entire life for this and around this, I'm back to being shoved aside. And it's like, you know, whatever little measly scraps, like a Monday or maybe like a Tuesday shift like tonight that I can try to squeeze in without having to deal with him all night. You know, it's that instead, so that he can have a full-time job. But, you know, the world is, it's a man's world, as they say. Pretty much everything is designed to benefit dudes, rich people. I don't know exactly, but certainly not people such as myself. That's for sure. I don't know. Anyway, another decent thing about the skin of my lips is peeling, and it's driving me nuts. I usually don't wear lipstick, but I did put a little bit of lipstick on today, and it's like, I don't know if it's peeling or flaking or what, but another decent thing about my shift last night was that I climbed the pole with my backpack. That's something that I'm really not able to do that much these days. It's more of like a rare kind of thing. I used to do this pretty often when I used to do day shifts a couple years ago. So now that I do mostly night shifts, it's not really something that I'm able to squeeze in. very often. Or honestly, it's just also that I really don't dare to try to do this very often these days. I mean, this thing is lethal. This thing is very, very, very heavy. Um, but I did climb the pole with that, yeah, yesterday. Also with a damp paper towel in my hand. You know, I climbed the pole with a damp paper towel to try to clean off the pole that way. But I think part of the reason the pole was especially slippery last night is because they're back to using 91% alcohol, which is much more slippery than 70%. Well, I wouldn't even say that 70% is slippery. 70% actually helps a lot, whereas 91% is, to me, it seems to make the pole more slippery for some reason, for whatever reason. So I do have my own bottles of 70% rubbing alcohol that I keep at the apartment that I stay at, and also here in my locker at the club. But you know, because the club already does supply usually rubbing alcohol for the pole, you know, I'm already lugging around this backpack with me everywhere that I go, literally everywhere that I go. So that includes my shifts here at the club. So it's not like I just put my backpack in my locker from my shift. I carry this around with me everywhere, all throughout the club as well for my shifts. Yeah. So it's like me carrying this around. It's not like I additionally want to have to carry around my own bottle of rubbing alcohol as well. Especially when the club already has rubbing alcohol right there next to the stage. But again, that's just part of my level of dedication for wanting to be able to keep going on the pole and doing my pole tricks. You know, I really need to have 70% rubbing alcohol, but after all these years, the club either doesn't understand that, or they're just actually that out of the loop, or what I suspect is probably more likely the case, they probably are actually doing it on purpose to just add that additional factor of difficulty and what feels to me to be damn near impossibility for me to try to continue to be able to do that. Really going against the grain over here still. I still haven't learned my lesson to just give up and surrender to doing what everyone else around me wants me to do. I still haven't resorted to that yet. But one of these days I probably will, because again, it really does feel damn near impossible to just, all I want to do, just go on stage, go on the pole and do my pole tricks. I mean, that's not all I want to do, but that's such a big priority and such a big part of it. Such a big part of it, such a big priority for me. And yeah, almost every single factor that's coming into play for that seems to be working against me and working against that being possible. And yeah, I think as of why, just probably always going to be a pretty big mystery to me. I know fetishes are said to be a thing, and there's so many different types of fetishes that people can have, but the only true fetish that I've ever seen people actually have, other than a foot fetish, I have seen a few people, I have met a few people that do seem to have a foot fetish, but other than that, the only true fetish that I've really actually ever come across, and what I would definitely say is by far the most common fetish I see, is basically this kind of fetish that's like a sadistic kind of thing, where people just like to see women in pain and struggling. Possibly males too, maybe just humanity at large. That's just part and parcel. That's just like the whole big thing about being a human, is we are put here to suffer, apparently, especially if you're, you know, not born into a rich, wealthy, well-to-do family. I don't know if that even is part of it either, though. It might just be all of humanity. This is just what we're here to do, is just struggle and suffer. I really don't know, but that's definitely what it seems like, and that is definitely the biggest fetish that I see, is kind of like that sadistic kind of nature, that sadistic kind of tone. people really, really do seem to get off on seeing other people hurt and other people suffering. Possibly all people, but I would say it does seem to be more so specifically, more commonly poor people and female, and especially the combination of that, you know, not rich women that are kind of coming from less wealthy backgrounds or just poorer backgrounds. I remember one time my mom showed me the house that she grew up in, or like the apartment. It's not where I'm from. It's you know, it's multiple hours of a drive, another state. It's in a different state, and it's, you know, it's not like I am near that area very often. I think I only saw it in person one time, and I've never seen pictures of it either. But I remember the time that I saw it from the outside, like from the street view in person as a kid. It was so long ago that happened, that I saw it that day. And yeah, it was only one time that I ever saw it that I can recall. But I just remember when I looked at it, I couldn't believe like how run down and how crappy it looked. And it was so vastly different than how I think of my mom and because when I say myself coming from kind of a poor background, it's not really that poor. Like, my younger brother's dad that she married and that was raising myself and my younger brother for pretty much all of our childhood, he wasn't rich necessarily, but he was well off enough. He was, you know, middle class probably, and we had a couple of pretty nice houses. Not like crazy or anything, not like super nice, but pretty nice. You know, I remember a lot of the friends that I would like have sleepovers with, or when I would go to my friends' houses, it was pretty evenly cut down the middle, to where I would say about half of the kids where I went to their houses were a lot crappier than the ones that I grew up in. And the other half, their houses were much, much nicer than the houses that I grew up in. So I feel like we literally were like pretty much exactly like smack dab in the middle when it came to that kind of thing. But, you know, they've since divorced, and they've been divorced for a while now. So with my mom, you know, like he's not my biological dad, so he's not really in the picture anymore. After they divorced, you know, he kind of just went his own way with stuff. But so now it really just being pretty much my mom's side of things that I see more. It's like, yeah, like, you know, she really did apparently come from a pretty poor background, but I never really actually realized that until I really became an adult. You know, as a kid, my mom was, and my gram too, actually. Like, my gram struggles financially. Like, my gram has an older sister that's 9 years older than her that helps her out with money a lot, because her older sister married into money and then her husband died, so she's been pretty well off financially, and she helps out my gram a lot. So my gram is somebody that does need a lot of help financially from her older sister like that. And, you know, my gram, from what I hear from her and my mom, it seems like my grandmother struggles financially a lot. But if she didn't talk about it a little bit here and there, or like if I hadn't heard that from my mom, I wouldn't really know that, because my gram and my mom are very good at making things look better than they are, or making it almost just making things kind of look good. Like, my grandmother, even though apparently she struggles financially, my grandmother right now currently drives a Lexus. She's like 83 years old too, by the way, and she still drives, but right now she drives a Lexus, and when I was growing up as a kid, she used to drive a Mercedes. So, and like, if you were to look at her condo where she lives right now, it's just very, very, the aesthetic, it's very, very well put together, and it kind of looks, I wouldn't say rich necessarily, but it does not by any means look, to me, does not look poor or like somebody that would be struggling financially. Whereas apparently from what I hear, especially from my mom, apparently that is actually the case. Which it's just really weird. It just doesn't make sense to me. Both of them just, yeah, they're really good at making things look nice and almost look like they have money, but really I don't think they actually really do that much. Whereas for me, like, I really don't bother to try to make things seem like they're better than they are. I'm somebody that's very, very honest and open about how crappy I feel and how much I struggle. Because to me, honesty is just the only thing that feels worth bothering with. I don't like feeling like I'm living a lie. I don't like feeling like I'm being fake or not true to myself or putting on airs or whatever the saying would be with that. I don't know. For whatever reason, I just feel like there's more, to me personally, or for me personally, I feel like there's more value in just kind of, yeah, trying to be honest and true to myself. But I don't know. How did I get onto this subject matter? What was I talking about before this? I was literally, the last thing I can remember talking about before this was climbing the pole with rubbing alcohol or carrying around rubbing alcohol. What? Okay, so back to the guy here at the club yesterday that I'm pretty sure was probably an undercover cop. There's one little detail I forgot to mention about that where, so I was very clear, I tried to make it very clear to him that I did not know, I had no idea whatsoever where he could find what he was apparently looking for. But again, there was a part of me that was very tempted to mess with him and like say all kinds of crazy stuff that if I had done that, I probably could have gotten myself into a lot of trouble, even though I would have just been joking. But what I did say that I'm not too sure was like a very wise thing to say, I was like, because I checked back with him later on and I was like, any luck? Like, did you have any luck trying to find what you were trying to find? And he basically just said no. And then I was like, oh, that's too bad. And I was like, oh yeah, you do seem kind of calm still or whatever. I was like, but then I was like, good luck on your quest. I basically just kind of like kept saying like, wishing him luck with it and be like, good luck, you know? So, but then I was thinking later, like, was that bad to say? Like, is it bad to wish somebody luck trying to find something like that? If it's something that people aren't really supposed to have, or I don't know. Anyway, so I did write that down on here. What else did I write down on here? What was I talking about before? Oh, because I was talking about poor people being born to suffer. Everyone being born to suffer, probably, but especially poor people. So, and yeah, even though I didn't really grow up poor, I definitely feel like a poor person now. Not the poorest of the poor, but I really don't feel like I'm doing too great, you know? Every penny that I spend, I'm terrified to spend it, and it's like, you know, just, yeah. I feel like I'm struggling. I feel like I'm struggling financially in pretty much almost every aspect, every sense of the word of struggling, like to where I do feel like it crosses over from not just struggling but suffering. I mean, I feel like it does feel like suffering most of the time. But anyways, um I have been talking with my mom on the phone recently. We really don't talk that often, but I'm trying to make a point to make more of an effort with that. Um, we've always had a pretty difficult, strange relationship, and a lot of which is very difficult for me to try to understand. And there's a lot of things about her that I really struggle to understand and that really don't seem to add up or make very much sense to me. But, obviously she's still my mom. I still love her a lot. And, you know, with that, it's like I want to understand. I want to understand. Um, a big part of why it's so difficult for me to do that is because we've never really had very open lines of communication. And I just feel like most of the difficult subject matter she really doesn't want to talk about and should rather kind of just either pretend it doesn't exist or like sweep it under the rug. And I think that's also why it means so much to me to just dare to be so open and honest, even though I do struggle so much myself. I'm just the kind of person where I feel like the tough stuff is worth being talked about. Like, but like again, my mother and my grandmother, they're really not the type of people to want to talk about stuff that's difficult. So when I do talk to my mom on the phone, it's like there's all these questions I want to ask her, and it's like she just doesn't really want to talk about it, But it's like that's my only way. Like that's my way of trying to understand. And it's also really difficult for me because there's a lot of stuff where I think I remember things a certain way. And I swear, I really think that I do. I really think that a lot of this stuff that I think I remember, I think that it is accurate. And I have I have a pretty good memory with what I feel to be a lot of stuff. But then there's a lot of other things that I don't remember. So that's more so the kind of stuff that I would try to ask my mom about, just to try to get her input or to see if she can try to fill me in or clue me in to some of those details, the details that I don't remember, that I'm very aware that I don't remember, But it's like, and same thing with my younger brother. My younger brother is 4 years younger than me. So it's like, I don't really talk to either of them that much on the phone. I used to talk to my little brother a lot more a few years ago. But more recently, when I was mentioning certain stuff from our childhood, it's like some of the stuff that I was mentioning, it's like my favorite, happiest memories between us, like the times that I felt like him and I were closest. And there was some stuff that I mentioned recently, and he was like, he basically just said that he didn't remember, which kind of broke my heart, because I was like, again, that's like some of my very favorite memories between us. So for me to feel like I remember that stuff so clearly and so vividly and in such a poignant, significant way, or what feels like a very poignant, significant way to me, for him to then not remember that stuff, it's a sad feeling. But it was kind of the same thing with my mom when I was talking to her recently. I was mentioning like an area where her and I used to go for walks when I was really young. And it was just a really beautiful area. We lived in many different areas. Like we moved around a lot. And so there were many different houses, many different areas that we were in. But this one that I was referring to, where we used to go for walks, was pretty much my favorite place that we had lived. And it's the one that I constantly find myself going back to the most. And You know, again, her and I have always had a very difficult relationship, and through a lot of the years that I was growing up with her, she seemed very angry, very upset with me, very, very hard on me. But one of the happier memories that I have for her and I was when we would go for those walks. And I mentioned that to her in a conversation that we had last week, and she basically said she doesn't remember it. She said that she remembers like walking the dog. And I was like, yeah, well, we did walk one of the dogs for a lot of that, but I very specifically remember like her and I and one of the pets that we had, whereas she made it sound like all she could remember was just her walking one of the other pets. And she didn't really seem to link me into those memories at all, really. So that made me pretty sad. But, again, I am about to get my period again, and this time especially is a time that I tend to reminisce and go back to a lot of my previous memories from childhood and when I was growing up. So there's just stuff that I tried to link together and try to remember as best I can. And there was one place that I struggled to remember. One of the places that I first lived in when I was like at my youngest, pretty much like directly after I was born. And like a lot of the other places that we lived after that, I can remember a lot better. Like there's just a lot more memories and like clear and vivid compared to this first place that I think that I was. I hardly have any memories of this first place at all. But I was looking stuff up online the other day of this area to try to see if there was anything that triggered any memories or anything that I could recall. And there was, I saw a video that somebody had put on YouTube of that area, of that town. And in that video, they showed the post office for that town. And when I saw that post office, it instantly clicked into my brain. Like I suddenly very, very clearly could remember and recall being in a car parked outside of that post office with my mom. I'm pretty sure that was before my younger brother was even born. So that would have been before I was even 4 years old, probably 2 or 3 years old. And I think it was just her and I. We used to go to that post office a lot. But back to how I mentioned in a lot of my videos how I just run into all of these weird coincidences where it's just too eerie and too weird for them to actually really be coincidental. It kind of just brings me back to that saying and that kind of notion that seems to be pretty big that I notice in the media and in society and online a lot these days, where people are like, oh, nothing is real, it's all just a simulation, it's all just computers, or whatever people are saying. But when I went into the club yesterday, so I was looking this up on Sunday rather than being at the club working on a shift like I normally would be for Sunday. I was in my own weird little world again, trying to look up stuff from my past and trying to recall and pick through all these weird old memories and crap. And so I was looking at that post office and looking it up and looking at pictures and videos on Sunday night. And then when I came into the club the following day, so yesterday, which was Monday, one of the very first customers that I met here at the club was wearing a t-shirt that said US Post Office, United States Post Office. And I was like, well, that could be a coincidence. But again, it felt a little weird, a little too weird to just be a coincidence, And then that actually reminds me, later on, so that was towards the beginning of my shift yesterday, but then towards the end of my shift later on last night, there was a different person, a female customer, at the stage wearing a t-shirt that said "Nothing is real." And again, like, part of the reason I left a little early last night, it's like, if it seemed like all the other strippers, all the other dancers on shift were getting tipped, and I really wasn't. But this girl that was wearing that t-shirt, out of the group of people by the stage that wasn't tipping me, she was the only person in the group that did toss me a couple dollars. And she was wearing that t-shirt that said "Nothing is real." And I was already thinking about that before she did that, and before I noticed the shirt that she was wearing that said that. Oh, because before I did leave last night, again, these people had been making it rain on a lot of the other dancers that were on shift, and very clearly not for me. And it's kind of like one of those times where it's like, that needs to happen to have the contrast. You know, like, I need to be the one called on stage directly after dancers that are getting tipped a lot, just so I can very clearly and specifically in front of everyone there not get tipped anything after everyone else just got tipped so much. So that way we can have the contrast and I can feel that much worse about myself, you know. It's one thing to not get tipped, but when you're not getting tipped directly after people that were getting tipped a lot, like very clearly and very obviously, it obviously stings a lot more and it just feels a lot worse, you know. But it's like, whoever runs the simulation, whoever is controlling all this in their like evil rich person computer simulation, they need to have that contrast to get off on it more and to humor themselves that much more. So I was like playing along, you know, I was playing along as best I could. But then I was like, let's just play along a little more and take it a little bit further. So before I left, I very obviously, at that point, there was nobody around the main stage anymore. They had all moved over to the side stage to tip another dancer. So before I left, I very obviously pulled out every chair away from the main stage where nobody was at that point, just to check and see if there were any spare dollars that had fallen underneath any of the chairs. So I would say, and I did all four sides. I did the entire rectangle of the stage. So all in all, that's probably at least 20 chairs. Maybe I'll try to count later if I can remember, just to know for sure how many chairs that actually is. It's got to be at least around 20. So a lot of chairs that are by the stage. And it's not like there were a whole bunch of people that were there to witness that and see me do that, but there were a few, including some of the dancers that had been getting tipped a lot. So it's like, here I am trying to scrounge up whatever little scraps I can get, you know. So I'm pulling out each and every chair away from the stage. Now, I know that sounds obnoxious and ridiculous and embarrassing, all of which, yes, obviously, yes, it is. However, I will say there have been times where I've done that, where I've found at least $5, sometimes more. So, you know, sometimes, yes, there are dollars that will be there in that area if I'm feeling up to or able to make that effort to check underneath every single chair like that. Now, when I did this last night, I don't know how I knew this, but I just knew there weren't going to be any dollars there, but I still needed to check just so that I wouldn't have to leave the club wondering, because it's already difficult enough for me to leave the club early, even if it's just half an hour early like it was last night. I'm so used to staying all the way till close. I'm almost always the last dancer to leave the club, like the last dancer to sign out, unless there's still a dancer upstairs in VIP, like still doing a private room. A lot of times though, I will be pretty much the last dancer to sign out and to leave the club at the very end of a shift, at the very end of the night. So anytime that I do leave early, I mean, that again, that's not very often that I do that, but when I do, it just kind of doesn't feel right to me. And I just don't like to do it because I'm just so used to, like, I like to finish things. You know what I mean? I like to feel like I've completed something. And to leave a shift before it's over, again, it just doesn't feel right to me. So the rare times that I do that, it's really difficult for me to pull myself away. And I pretty much only will allow myself to do that with the specific intention that, it's like I want to try to be able to get a little bit more sleep and get up a little bit earlier later the next day so that hopefully I can get more accomplished the following day, which is technically already that same day, since usually, even if I leave the club early, it's still almost always after midnight. So basically already the next calendar day on the calendar being after midnight, if that makes sense. But it's like, and that did actually work today. Like today, I left the club a half hour early last night. I was able to get up earlier this afternoon and just have more time to, like, get ready and go to grocery stores before my shift. But like there's like other stuff that I have to do too, like get gas or go to the post office or go to the bank. Like yesterday I sent my rent out. So yesterday before I went to the club, I went to the bank and the post office. Like there's just stuff I try to do before I come into the club. It's a big thing. It's a big production for me to get out the front door of the apartment that I stay at. So anytime that I'm able to do that for a day, it's like I want to try to squeeze in as many productive type things as I can for that day rather than just coming in here to the club. But even for me to do that is a big thing for me, So yes, that's why I left early last night. That's pretty much my mindset and mentality when I do allow myself to leave a little bit early last night. But to try to, like, help with that feeling of, like, incompleteness and just not feeling right about leaving early, I was like, well, I can't just leave it open-ended, like not knowing if there could be extra dollars underneath the chairs. So again, very embarrassing for me to do it, especially while there were still people, like, there. There wasn't anyone actually at the stage, which is how I was able to check underneath all the chairs and, like, roll them out and pull them out from the stage like that. But there were people slightly further out, not actually at the stage, but near the stage, if that makes sense. And they were seeing what I was doing, I pulled out every chair, and I was right. There wasn't, this time, again, in the past, I have found dollars that way, but this time there wasn't a single dollar. And I kind of just knew that before I even did it. I could just sense that there wasn't. So that stung as well. That wasn't a great feeling. It's kind of like that feeling of, like, the walk of shame. I've never really, I never went to college. So I never had, like, the actual literal walk of shame as far as, like, what it's said to be or mean or represent in the media, like after, like, a one night stand or whatever. I've never really had that or done that in that sense, but I don't know, maybe it's not like a walk of shame, but it's like, it's still a feeling of shame that I have doing that. It's very, very shameful. It's like the what can I call it? It's the something of shame. The chair check of shame. The chair check of shame, or the chair rollout of shame. It's something of shame for sure. The of shame part I know very clearly. Yeah, it's a very shameful, embarrassing feeling, but dignity be damned. I still did it just so that I wouldn't have to wonder if I was missing out on any extra dollars that way. Dignity doesn't really mean much to me. It's not something I've ever really felt that I've ever had. It's like love. It just doesn't exist in my world. Like, I don't know what dignity is. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it feels like. Same as love. It's like an abstract concept that I hear other people talk about. Other people seem to have it. I don't, and I never have, probably never will. Oh well. Yeah. It's not my specialty by any means, dignity. Anyway. Oh. Back to the errands that I'm always trying to squeeze in. You know, yeah, lately I'm not really feeling able to doing as many shifts with the DJ guy being back, but very recently, before he came back, I was getting 40, 50-hour work weeks. So it is really difficult for me to try to do other stuff, like squeeze in other things that I have to do, like errands. You know, I have no help. I've been living alone ever since I started being a stripper many years ago. I have no family in the area. I've also been single ever since I became a stripper, as well as years before that as well. Sorry, I kind of just repeated myself there. But, so yeah, I do everything by myself. I don't have any help or anything like that. So I gotta do everything. It's like I gotta go to the bank, go to the post office, get gas and groceries, and I can't remember the last time that I was able to get to the gym. I want so much to try to get better about that. But you know, with as far as like trying to squeeze in those errands where and whenever I can manage to do so, whether it be, yeah, it's like I'll try to do it before my shifts at the club if I can manage to get up early enough or get ready in time enough to do that, to squeeze that in. A lot of times though, it ends up being on my days off that I'm not working at the club that I'm doing that. Pretty much my entire days off are just running errands. But part of that is, it's like, again, back to everything seeming like it's just a simulation or controlled by evil rich people, sadistic evil rich people. You know, it's like I can't just go to one store to get the stuff that I get. And mind you, the groceries that I get, the stuff that I consume, I don't cook really. And on top of that, my refrigerator is shut off. So I don't have a functioning refrigerator or freezer to keep food cold. And I don't really cook. But just for me to get like the bare essentials, or what I deem to be the bare essentials for my survival as far as that kind of stuff, for groceries, I can't just get that stuff at one store for multiple reasons. It's partly because, you know, me struggling financially as much as I do, I'm always trying to go for the lowest price point that I can find for stuff. But it's all different stuff at all different stores. And mind you, most of the groceries that I get, it's not like a whole lot of stuff. It's basically like, I basically get on repeat a lot of the same basic things. Every now and then I'll try to switch it up and like treat myself and then regret it afterwards. But for the most part, it's pretty consistent as far as what I'm getting. It's, you know what I mean? A lot of it is just the same stuff on repeat. But even though I try to keep it consistent in that way, it's really not consistent as far as what's available at the stores that I shop at. And I do almost all of my shopping, or I actually literally do all of my shopping at 3 basic stores. 2 of which are very close to the apartment that I stay at, and then the 3rd would be Walmart, which is further out. And I feel the need to go to Walmart pretty often because that's the only store where I'm able to find my main source of protein for a more, what I feel is a more reasonable price point. And again, I'm getting a lot of that main source of protein in pretty large quantities because that's pretty much all I usually have for my protein. I'll have protein bars here at the club, but even with the protein bars, it's like they're only available at one store. The protein bars that I get lately it's been two new kinds of protein bars that I've been having, but out of the two, one of them is available at one store and not the other store or Walmart. The other one, same deal. It's only available at that store and not the other store and not Walmart. And then even before that, before these two newer protein bars, I was having a lot of Built protein bars. So even with those, well, with the Built bars, I could get them at Walmart, but only in the 4-pack boxes, which are like $10 a box. So I wouldn't really get them, even though I could get them from there, I wouldn't actually usually get them from there. I would more often get them in the single serve packets at one of the other stores. So besides the Walmart, the other two main stores that I go to, those are only available that I can find in one of the two stores, not the other one. And not even really that much at Walmart, because again, at Walmart, they're only available in the 4-pack boxes at that store for me. So it's like, it's like this maze almost of like, it can't just be simple, basic stuff for a reasonable price point all at one store. It's like, I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with its head cut off, scrambling around, you know, at all the, even though it's only 3 stores. You know, I'm lucky enough to have a car, but my car is over 10 years old, not in very good condition. I don't feel like it's very reliable or trustworthy. Pretty much, so it's almost the end of July right now while I'm filming this. Pretty much right around in a couple of months, so usually around, it's actually usually around my birthday. So in a couple of months, it'll be October. Usually October, November, right around, go figure, my birthday time. Almost every year, there's something like a drastic expense, or what feels to me to be a drastic expense that I have to put towards my car to fix something that goes wrong with my car. Almost every year without fail. So basically, I don't feel like my car is very reliable. So I can only imagine what it would be like, though, if I were to not be able to drive and be trying to get to all of these stores just by taking the bus or walking, you know? And again, it's like I'm carrying this around with me everywhere. To try to carry around a bunch of heavy grocery bags with that, it's like, damn, you know? But these are just 3 stores, and it's like, I just feel like I'm running around, even right now being able to drive. It's like, yeah, a chicken with its head cut off, just scrambling around, trying to put this puzzle together of how to try to make this work as best I can, both financially, but also with my time and my energy. And it's like, I just wish, why can't anything just be simple at all whatsoever? Like, if I could just have these basic, what feels to me to be very basic, bare bones grocery essentials. Again, it's not like I'm getting all kinds of crazy groceries. I don't cook. I don't have my refrigerator on. It's like I need my main protein, you know, maybe some vegetables, whatever carbs are like quickest and easiest that you really don't have to cook. Even my microwave is broken now. Even my microwave has been broken for a while. You know, protein bars, it's very expensive, but so I'm trying to find the best price point for, you know, the best macros I can try to find in a protein bar. But it's like, it's just, it can't ever be simple at all. It's like one store will have this, but not that. The other store will be the opposite. It'll have the other thing, but not the other thing. And then even with that, a lot of times it's like, I don't want to get too attached or dependent on any particular product. I don't want to rely physically or financially or emotionally on any one specific product too much, because a lot of the products that I tend to start to purchase a lot and get a lot of, a lot of times shortly after, it's like they'll just disappear from the stores and they won't be available anymore. They'll just stop making them or stop carrying them, and they'll just kind of poof, disappear into thin air. And it's like I'm not able to find them or locate them or get them anymore. So it's just, I just wish I could understand on some level why things seem to be this way by design. And again, back to rich, evil people controlling everything and having this be all evil by design. Even the protein bars that I've been getting lately, they're these ones. Look what it says on the back. It says, "You deserve this." Can you see? I know it reads backwards on the lives, but if anyone's dyslexic, you deserve this. Okay? So I never feel like I actually deserve, my protein bars in the food sense of things. But that's not how I feel like this is intended. I don't think that's what they mean by it. I feel like now I am additionally being gaslit by my protein bars. As if I'm not feeling gaslit by enough other stuff constantly, enough of the other stuff surrounding me in my miserable existence already. I already feel gaslit in so many ways. Now even my protein bar is doing it to me. Even my protein bars are gaslighting me. I know that they don't mean that I deserve the actual protein bar. They mean that I deserve all of the struggle and confusion and impossibility of trying to locate these and be able to afford to purchase them, and the guilt that I feel when I eat them or spend money on them, not knowing if the macros are good or bad, or what the macros even actually mean, or is this a decent amount of protein or not, or the rest of it. Are any of the ingredients to be trusted? Are they good or bad ingredients? Or every study, every article is always going to say something different and contradictory, back and forth, over and over, so that, I never know what to believe. Nothing does seem real. Nothing does seem accurate. Nothing does seem reliable. It's literally being gaslit by everything around me, I feel like. So, and then it's like, well, no, I deserve it. At least I paid for this, so maybe I don't deserve it. Or maybe I do. Depending on how you're looking at it or how you interpret that. Well, I have stolen other protein bars in the past, so maybe that's what they mean by it. Once a thief, always a thief. But it's not like I like to be that way, or like I like to feel that way, especially. I don't want that to be me. It's because I struggle so much, and because I feel so financially insecure. And I've been on my own for so long, and that's another thing. I don't want to be. I don't want to be on my own doing all this or trying to do all this by myself. I never have, and I never will, and I don't understand. $115 in, it said that my stream just interrupted, so I guess I better wrap this up. Yeah, I feel like I don't really have a choice in the matter, but I would love to get financial help if I could. I would love to get at least some kind of help if I felt able to, but it's like being a stripper, I don't know how I would ever try to do that being a stripper. It's like once you're a stripper, always a stripper, even though it's said so much in society, like you can't do it forever. You can't do that forever. But it's like even if you've ever done it at all, you know, dared to get naked in front of strangers or be a stripper, or a female has been in the adult industry, it's like you're branded like that for life. Same thing as shoplifting or other bads. I don't want to say being a stripper is bad, but a lot of society does seem to kind of point the finger, or not everyone, thankfully, and I think society's evolved a little more now compared to before, but you know, it's still oftentimes by a lot of people looked down upon and seen as not the greatest thing to be a stripper. So, but it's like, yeah, once you've done certain stuff, it's kind of like it's like that forever as a person. Like you'll never be able to change or escape it, really. Even being a stripper, even if you stop dancing at a certain point and like retire from dancing, because again, everyone loves to say that you can't do it forever, even though you can't do anything forever, but it's like once you've done it at all, it's like that's how you're looked at and how you're seen and like branded almost. Like, so if you've been a stripper, or especially if you still currently are, you're never going to be able to get any kind of financial help or any kind of help at all, probably. At least in my experience. Like, I really truly do feel so stuck. And I have for so long. But again, I just don't know what to do. So hey, I don't know, but I think I've said most of what's on this side of this is a receipt, by the way. Receipt. I think I've said most of what's on this side, and then there's a few things on the other side that I'll probably just save for next time. This video is about to be 120 minutes long. So, oh my gosh, this video is almost about to be 2 hours long, and it did just get interrupted at the 1:15. I gotta write that down because it almost looks, it says that I have 43. It just said 45, now it says 43. It says that there's 43 people currently watching this, which I would like to take as an indication that I might possibly still be streaming. However, more often than not, oh god, it just jumped down. Oh gosh, it just jumped down to 28 now that I said that. I try not to pay attention to the view count too much, but I do try to pay more attention to it when my streams interrupt, because usually if my stream interrupts, oh, now it's back up to 40. Usually when my streams interrupt, after that, my streams don't work. And even if it says that I'm still streaming, usually after the connection resumes, the rest of what I try to stream doesn't post in the video. That almost always is the case and how it happens. However, the last video that got interrupted, that was not the case. The last video that I did that got interrupted, the rest of what I tried to stream after it reconnected did actually post in the video. So it's back to the inconsistency. Back to the inconsistency, I just never know how things are gonna be, how things are gonna go, or how to try to plan or prepare or try to do anything, because it's just all so inconsistent and all over the place. So it's 5 o'clock on the dot, so I'm gonna write that down. I know that I started this video at 3 o'clock on the dot. I literally started this video off with saying that. So started it at 3, it's 5 o'clock now, and the timestamp says 1:20. So as of right now, those numbers seem to make sense. But I better write them down just in case. The last thing on this side of the paper that I want to try to mention in this video real quick. Back to having lately, or like when I've been having conversations on the phone with my mother and my younger brother, it really breaks my heart when they say that they don't remember a lot of the stuff that I remember and cherish the most as some of my most, what I feel and what I deem to be my most meaningful, significant memories and moments that I had with them. And, you know, nowadays, I haven't seen either one of them in person in so long. I did see my younger brother last summer. Him and his girlfriend came up to visit, but that was for like one day, and we only were able to visit for like an hour or two. And before that, I hadn't seen him for years. My mother, I hadn't seen in person for years, so many years. You know, we're just not as close as I would like to be. They just have their own lives, and I try to accept that and respect that. But it does make me sad and bum me out. But you know, it's like, it's been a really big thing for me to do my YouTube this past year. So again, it's the end of July right now while I'm filming this. I started my YouTube back last August. So once it's August, you know, that'll be like a full year for me being on YouTube. And I'm still under 5,000 subscribers. I'm not even at 4,000 subscribers yet. I think last I checked, I was at 3.7 thousand, which, you know, I'm thankful for every single one of those, if any of them, especially if any of them are real, actual people. But so I talk a lot about how, even though I do really try to consider at least the possibility that some of those might actually be real people as subscribers, and it's not just a bunch of made up numbers, because yeah, especially if they are real people, it's like, I'm so thankful for that, and that just means so much to me. But still, first and foremost, my YouTube is still supposed to be primarily for me, you know, and like a way just for me to try to vent and remember things, make memories for me to look back on. Because yeah, looking back at my past, so much of it is so blurry to me, or there's so many details that I don't remember that I wish that I could. But before I started my YouTube last year, it had been something that I was thinking about doing for so long, for so many years. But I remember, even as far back as 2012 and 2013, back in 2000, which, by the way, just for future reference, if this video does ever post properly and stay up online for years to come, as I'm filming this right now, it is 2026, end of July 2026, July 21st, I think, right? 2026. Back in 2012, 2013, I had just broken up with what is now my ex. That was the only real relationship I'd ever had. And So I was living with my mom for a bit back then, and so was my younger brother. So it was kind of like this really cool brief period of time where we were kind of back as a family a little bit together. Because before that I had been living with my ex, and like my mom and my younger brother's dad had gotten divorced shortly after I was out of high school. Um, and I hadn't really been around or seen my mom very much, or my younger brother. And then the three of us were back living under the same roof and in the same house together for a little while. But it was really only a couple of years, basically just 2012, 2013. And my younger brother moved out into his dad's house, I think shortly into 2013. So none of that really lasted very long. But before he moved out, and then I moved out in 2014. But anyways, before my younger brother moved out, I remember him and back then, I did not have a car and he did. And I remember him and I would do like burn cruises a lot. Like, just, he would drive places, usually to go get marijuana, and we would smoke marijuana. And a lot of times we would have these conversations in the driveway when we got back to the house. And I remember the conversations that we would have would be pretty lengthy. And obviously, like, we were smoking weed during that time, so we would kind of have like those stoner types of conversations. But I just remember at that time, or at those times, they felt so deep and so meaningful. Like, I feel like we were, and like, very philosophical. I felt like we were so connected and just really relating on pretty deep levels, or what felt to me to be really deep levels. Like, and I remember thinking during those times, I wish there was a part of me that really wanted to record some of those conversations. So back then, I don't think it was really like a thing to just record stuff on cell phones like it is now. I do remember, though, I had like a little handheld camcorder type of video camera, to like do videos that way. And I didn't really use it very much, though. Like, it was clunky and confusing for me to try to operate. And most of my family, like my mom, my younger brother, my gram, they really aren't the types of people to like want to be on camera or like in a video. Like, they're pretty, I don't know if shy is the word, but they're pretty private, pretty modest. They don't really like calling attention to themselves or like making a spectacle, or I think they kind of just like roll their eyes at stuff like that, which is fine. But I just, I always kind of got the impression that he wouldn't want to be on camera that way, or it would have maybe like taken away from the feelings of authenticity, or like being able to be real and genuine with each other. Like, if, like, once you take out a camera and try to make a video out of something, it's obviously really nice to be able to commemorate and capture those moments. But on the flip side, it kind of can feel more like a production, and it alters things. It alters how you feel and how you approach the situation and how you present yourself. Like, it will feel more like a performance. And yeah, maybe in some ways it can feel slightly less genuine or spontaneous, like unrehearsed. It almost feels like like rehearsed and performative once you try to turn something into a video like that. So I just didn't want to take away from what felt like pretty natural, honest moments between us with our conversations like that. I mean, we would be talking in the car like that for hours, like really long conversations. So I did think about trying to film some of those conversations, but because I didn't want to make him uncomfortable, or the reasons I just mentioned, like take away from what felt like real natural moments there, I never did. I never really got around to bothering to film those conversations, which in the moments I thought that was the right way to go with things. But honestly, looking back now, I wish so much that I had. I wish that I had filmed some of those, because for the life of me, I can't remember what the F we were talking about or what we would have been talking about for those conversations. And there were many of those types of conversations that we had. And again, most of them were pretty long, like on the longer side for what was probably, hours and hours of talking. And especially now that we're not really able to be as close, and we hardly ever talk these days. So I wish that we did, but again, he's busy, he's got his own life, he's expecting a child now. So, it's understandable, but I just really wish now, looking back, just even to just, to have those memories of us, but even to just for the life of me be able to remember what we possibly could have been talking about. Which in the moments, again, when we were talking about that stuff, whatever it would have been, I just remember thinking at those times, it just felt so deep and meaningful. And I might at least be able to remember now that we had those times and that we had those types of conversations. But based on him saying that he doesn't remember so much stuff from our childhood that I've mentioned to him that I do remember, and that it's like I can only assume that he probably doesn't remember or won't remember. If he hasn't already forgotten, I can't help but to assume that he probably will, going into the future, if he hasn't already, just forget, that we ever had those times and that we ever had those moments together, and those memories, those kinds of conversations. Because yeah, it's like I've mentioned stuff from our childhood that I think is like our best times together, and he doesn't remember that. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it is a weird feeling, yeah, trying to make videos and trying to hold on to stuff and capture it and preserve it in a video. And yeah, a lot of it can feel performative and not always as authentic, as it could be just in the moment on its own naturally without being on camera. But anything that's not on camera just disappears. Like, you know what I mean? Like moments. It's like they just come and they go and they're gone forever. It literally in real time, in those, oh great, it's real. It's so real. It's so authentic. But literally as those moments are happening, they're in real time. Screw being real, because being real time is disappearing literally as it happens. Well, as usual right now, I don't even know if I'm actually streaming right now, or if this will ever actually be in a video like I'm intending for it to be. But if I wasn't even bothering trying to do a video right now, if I wasn't even bothering trying to stream and trying to preserve this moment and these moments and this day and what I'm saying and what I'm doing right now, if I wasn't bothering to try to do a video right now, these real-time moments would just be coming and going and disappearing literally at the same time as they're happening. And that terrifies me. I can't accept that. I can't accept it. So that's such a big part of me of doing my videos and trying to hold on, trying to just capture stuff. I want to capture it. And I want to make it into something more. Something longer lasting. Oh, I see a plane. I was gonna say something else. That was the last thing on my notes that I was gonna say for this video, but triggered some other type of thought that I wanted to try to express. What was it? And it started to come back to me as I was trying to say more of what I just said. And in order for me to complete saying what I was just saying, I had to back burner the other additional thought that I had. I remember the moment that it happened too. I remember specifically trying to decide which direction to go. If I wanted to continue on with the original thought that I was trying to talk about, or if I wanted to slightly sidetrack into the additional thought and then go back to the first thought. Damn it! What was it? It's not written down, I know that much, but I'm still bothered. I'm still gonna look at this anyways. If only I could rewind, but I can't do that until after I finish this video, and if it does post, then I could rewind it later, hopefully, but until then, or and there's still more on this side. But I already knew, I know that I want to save this next side for later, another time. Dagnabbit. Maybe I can just sit here and try to remember, and then maybe the stream will just end itself eventually, like it does so often. If somebody out there that ends my streams on their own accord wants to end my stream right now, now would be the time, because I don't think I'm going to remember what I was trying to say for the additional detail. Or derailment of other thought. It was when I started to talk about, it was right when I was starting to talk about the conversations in the driveway with my younger brother back in 2012, 2013. I don't know. I apologize, but there's so much stuff I wish I could have gotten on video throughout all these years. It's so awkward too. It's so awkward too for, like, if this does come back to me later. Of course, I know I'll try to make a note about it, but then for me to try to go back to something like that in another separate video, for me to try to find some way to, like, backstory or backtrack and then segue into that additional detail where I've already provided so many details about a certain thing, but then to have, like, this one little, like, almost insignificant side detail to have in a completely separate video, be like, oh, by the way, an entire other video ago, I was talking at length about this specific thing, and I already talked so much about it, so whatever, but I wanted to add this one little other detail now in this other completely separate video. Like, it makes no sense, and it's so annoying trying to do that. Because really, with that additional detail, I want to have all of the other details and the backstory together with the other new detail in the same video. But I also don't want to repeat myself on purpose all that much and have to re-say all that stuff over again when I already inadvertently, not on purpose usually, repeat myself already in so many of my videos, just because it just happens with how much talking I tend to do. But it's like, I don't want to knowingly on purpose repeat that much, you know what I mean? Anyway, it happens. I'm gonna end this stream now. I don't know why my face is so red. Oh, actually I kind of do, because my car is off, there's no air conditioner, and the windows are rolled up, and it's not a sunny day like I was saying earlier at the start of this video. It's a cloudy day, but it's still July, so it's still pretty hot and pretty humid, but I don't like this look right now. The sock. Dust. All that dust. Okay. I'm gonna wrap this up. I don't remember off the top of my head what the weather for the rest of this week is supposed to be like, but yeah, I haven't really felt up to coming on as much lately, but I really want to, and I've just been feeling so crap lately, especially with this new DJ guy coming back and just throwing everything off so much more for me. But I really don't want to just, you know, shrug off my YouTube or, you know, have it move to the back burner. You know what I mean? Like, my YouTube means a lot to me. And I mean, it is going to be a full year in a week or two. It'll be a full year that I've been on here. So I want to try to celebrate that. And, you know, anyways, but, I honestly don't know when I'm going to be able to come back on again next, but I'm certainly hoping it'll be sooner than later, as I like to say. Today is only Tuesday, so I really want to think I got to at least be able to come back on here at some point later this week, at least. But I will be trying my best with that for sure. I hope you guys are well. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Right now we're at 143 minutes, and I will also say the canker sore on the underside of my tongue, I still feel it, but I think with all this talking, I've desensitized it a little bit. It's not hurting nearly as much right now as it was when I started this video. When I first started this video, it was hurting so bad, and I really didn't think that I was going to be able to continue on or get through doing much of a video today, but apparently I have, so awesome. Hopefully this posts okay. Yeah, I hope I'm able to come back on again soon. But yes, in the meantime, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are well, and peace out for now. Happy Tinka Tuesday. Till next time.